Hey everybody, welcome to Crack Pack Tuesday, number 170 on the Mana Leek. I'm John, as always. We've got ourselves another pack of Guilds of Ravnica, the set that just won't die. And we're going to crack this open, see what's in it, and see what we would take pack one, pick one, if this was a draft. This, of course, is a sponsored Crack-a-Pack. Every patron over at patreon.com/themanaleek who donates at the $5 level or above gets entered each week to get all the contents of the pack, or some of the contents, or none of the contents. It depends on what that person actually wants. Some packs aren't that good. Some packs have foil Vraska, as we saw a few weeks ago. So this week it's going out to Caden. Also goes by Sidian. So we're going to crack this pack, see what's in it, and see what we would take pack one, pick one, if this was a draft. Up first we have Sworn Companion. Sworn Companions is 2 and a white for sorcery. Create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. It's fine. It goes in both white decks. You're happy to have it. You're never first picking it. That's about all there is for that card. Up next is Wall of Mist. Wall of Mist is 1 and a blue for a creature. Wall, it's a defender, of course. It's an 0/5. This is, I play this way more than I should and way more than I want to. Some Dimir decks just want to go walls up and wait until they drop a City Watch Sphinx or a Watcher in the Mist, kill all the opponent's creatures, and then just win in that way. And a Wall of Mist can help out there. That being said, there's generally every other better card you could play above it. So, yeah, it's a tough card. It's never ever a first pick. It's a very late pick. And it should be not included if you can. Is it? Doesn't really want it. Up next is Wojek Bodyguard. Wojek Bodyguard is 2 and a red for a creature human soldier. It's a 3/3 with Mentor, but it can't attack or block alone, which is meaningless in Boros because you're attacking with other creatures all the time, non-stop. The downside can definitely show up. I've definitely gotten some Boros decks when they played a Wojek Bodyguard, and I just always got rid of the other creature for a few turns in a row, and they were basically stuck just doing nothing because this couldn't attack or block. But if this has a friend, it can get out of control. The 3 power with the Mentor is right where Boros really wants it, because so many Mentors are 2 power. So yeah, Wojek Bodyguard is really good, and I could see some awful packs where it's a first pick. I'm going to take it out of frame, hoping this pack is better, but maybe it has to come back. We'll see. Up next is Pax Favor. Pax Favor is 2 and a green for an instant. It's got Convoke, so your creatures can help cast it. It gives target creature +3/+3 until end of turn. It's an okay combat trick. It's not that exciting. Holding your creatures back in order to get them with this doesn't really get them that much, but it is still a handy combat trick to have. If you're in green, if you have a spot, you'll play a Pax Favor and you won't feel bad about it. But if you've got a better cards, you're just not going to play it. So it's very, very, very not a first pickable card. Up next is Child of Night. Child of Night is 1 and a black for a creature vampire with lifelink. She's a 2/1, and she's a card that I actually rather like in most core sets. Even core set 19, where people were pretty down on her, I still think she was fine. But this set has not been kind to her. Dimir does not want a 2/1 with lifelink, and Golgari is fine, but you'd just rather one of the Death Touch creatures instead. So Child of Night, unfortunately, really doesn't quite have a home in this set, and so typically isn't playable, and certainly is not first pickable. Up next is Hammer Dropper. Hammer Dropper is 2 red white for a creature giant soldier. It's a 5/2 with Mentor. This thing dies to everything, but if you ever swing and connect with this basically once, it's going to swing the game so far that it's going to be hard for your opponent to come back from. Yeah, Hammer Dropper typically ends up making my Boros decks if I have a spot. It's kind of in like the 22nd spot. There's usually cards that I would cut before it, but it's on the chopping block after that card, basically. So I'm not going out of my way to get these. You can typically wheel these if you want them, and if you're you know, not being massively cut on Boros by several other people. Not a first pick for me. Hey, we got a first pick. We don't have to bring back Wojek Bodyguard. We got Artful Takedown. 2 blue-black for an instant. Choose one or both. Tap target creature, and/or target creature gets -2/-4 until end of turn. This card's amazing. This card is absolutely ludicrous that it's at common. 4 mana to generally always kill a creature and also tap a creature is absolutely huge. It can be used offensively, it can be used defensively, it can be used to end a game, it can be used to stall a game. There's so much utility in this card, and it's not at all expensive, and it's in possibly the best color combination in the set. Artful Takedown is certainly first pick material. Up next is Sumala Woodshaper. Sumala Woodshaper is 2 green white for a creature elf druid. It's a 2/1. When Sumala Woodshaper enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or enchantment from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom in any order. She's fine. If you're Selesnya, she's fine. You're generally hoping that she's getting your Luminous Bonds or your Conclave Tribunals. You know, you'll hopefully have a few of those, whereas getting the insane game-ending bomb that you have in green-white might be a little bit harder to find. So she's fine, but certainly not a first pick. Up next is Hypothesizzle. Hypothesizzle is 3 blue-red for an instant. Draw 2 cards. Then you may discard a non-land card. When you do, Hypothesizzle deals 4 damage to target creature. I can't remember if I've talked about this on Crack-a-Pack, but you guys have probably heard this by now, but this is a reflexive trigger. When you cast Hypothesizzle, you don't target anything. You just cast it. And then you draw 2 cards. And then, after having drawn those 2 cards, and looking at them, and thinking about it, then you target a creature, then you inform your opponent what creature is being targeted. So they don't have an opportunity to cancel Hypothesizzle before they know what it's targeting. So be aware of that. It's a very good spell. It's fantastic. It will take 1 of these, 2 of these. 3 might be pushing it, but it's really, really, really good. I would certainly consider it as a first pick in some packs. I just don't think it compares to Artful Takedown at all, so we're not going to keep it in frame here. And our final common, this makes 10 commons, so no foil, unfortunately, is Prey Upon. Prey Upon is a single green mana for a sorcery. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. It's fine. If you're in green, this is your removal. This is what you get. There's nothing else going on for it. What works pretty well in Golgari, because of course you have your Gorgons and your Hired Poisoners and your Okran Assassins, which turns this into a Bone Splinters more than just a fight card. But, you know, Prey Upon has fallen from where it used to be as a solid card. There's better removal, there's better creatures, there's better stuff to do. Not a first pick, but if you're green, it's fine. Moving on to the uncommons, we've got ourselves Invert and Invent. Invert first, invent second. Invert is a single blue-red mana for an instant that says switch the power and toughness of each of up to 2 creatures until end of turn. The card, of course, doesn't say that, but that's what the card actually does. It's not good. It's bad. It kills a Wall of Mist, and that doesn't matter. There's no reason to play Invert. There's some cute little combos you can try out, but it's not good. Invent is 4 blue-red for an instant as well. Search your library for an instant card and or a sorcery card. Reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Tutors aren't good in Limited. They would have to be ludicrously cheap, find anything, and preferably not even show it to your opponent, which of course means it has to be any card and not a type of card. 6 mana, even at instant speed, going and getting an instant and a sorcery, that's so far from what you want to do. Invert Invent is bad. You should never play it. Certainly not first pick it. Up next is Selective Snare. Selective Snare is X and a blue for a sorcery. Return X target creatures. Return X target creatures of the creature type of your choice to their owner's hand. This card is okay, but it is typically 1 and a blue for a sorcery speed bounce, because it's not often that your opponent has several creatures of the same type. Ultimately, this ends up being a little bit more of a sideboard card, and I'm always happy to have it in the sideboard. If I find myself against Selesnya, there's a decent chance that they're going to have Soldier 1, Soldier 2, Soldier 3, Soldier 4, Elf, Soldier 5, Elf, Soldier 6, and we can get them. But in many matchups, it's just not going to be good enough. So I would pick this when the packs are starting to get weak, you know you're blue, and leave it in your sideboard. But remember, you have it in your sideboard. Our final uncommon is a Legion Guildmage, which is very good and certainly first pickable. Red-white for a creature human wizard. She's a 2/2. For 5 and a red and tap her, she deals 3 damage to target opponent. Or sorry, each opponent. For 2 and a white, tap her. You tap another target creature. She's fantastic. She's a 2/2 for 2, which is great. For the next several turns, she can stop big creatures from attacking you. That's great. Perhaps that also allows you to get in for some damage. And then she deals 3 damage a turn to your opponent, with, of course, the final turn being 6 damage. 3 damage at their end step, move to your on-tap step, on-tap Guildmage, on-tap your lands, deal 3 more. That's 6 in the space of, like, a couple of phases. She's great. She can do a ton of work. I would happily first pick a Legion Guildmage. I don't know what I would first pick between these two. Let's see if the rare decides it. The rare doesn't really decide it. The rare is Ritual of Soot. 2 black for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less. I don't like Wraths in Limited. I talk about this a lot. It's just not the playstyle that I want to do in Limited. I find that if you sandbag back creatures and you don't play and you don't affect the board, you end up in the situation of being like, oh, I hope they commit more. And they might or they might not. Or especially with Ritual of Soot, they drop a Hammer Dropper. And then your Ritual of Soot does nothing, and you've stopped playing creatures. So I'm not a big fan of Wraths. I'm not a big fan of conditional Wraths in Limited. They certainly have their place. They certainly can do some work, but it's really not how I like to play Magic. So Limited Magic anyways. The Wraths in Constructed are a whole other story, of course. So I'm not going to consider Ritual of Soot. I could definitely see some people considering it, but it's not on my... not on my radar. We got a Golgari Guildgate and a token. So really it's between Legion Guildmage and Artful Takedown, which are probably the 2 best guilds in the entire set. And I think I'm just going for Artful Takedown. It's removal. It's fantastic. It requires nothing other than you having 4 mana, 1 of it blue and 1 of it black, and it's going to do some incredibly good work. Legion Guildmage, you've got to have other attackers to get through, and you've got to get to 6 mana, and you've got to do other stuff. And none of that's very hard. But it's stuff you got to do, and this requires nothing. So I'm on Artful Takedown here as the first pick. Let me know what you would have taken in the comments down below. Would you have taken the Artful Takedown? Would you have taken the Guildmage? Do you like Ritual of Soot? Would you have taken that? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at @TheManaLeek. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. You can find me at Facebook.com/TheManaLeek, Twitch.tv/TheManaLeek, and Patreon.com/TheManaLeek. If you like the content, click that thumbs up button. Click subscribe if you want to see more. And if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.